So, Justin, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your project.
Oh, hey guys. A lot of you probably already know because it's been such a long process. But for the last 4 years, me and Shelly, my wife, have been making our second stop motion film, which is called Dogonauts: Enemy Line, and it's basically about a Dogonaut and a flea pilot that kind of shoot each other down and get stranded on this alien planet where they have to work it out, basically. And there's a lot of comedy and some really cool action. And we're done. We finished the film. And now we're at the point where we are trying to get the music, sound effects, color correction. Yes, very much like Enemy Mine, exactly. And that's why we call it Enemy Line. It's like a little riff in a way.
Okay, so
Uh,
there's a connection there.
yes, there's definitely a connection. And you know, we basically all of our films, like after coming off of Gerald's Last Day, which was a much more kind of a tender heart kind of film about just being yourself and you'll find love basically, or the people that really matter will show. Um, I wanted to do something a lot more cool and kind of boyish with toys and action and stuff like that. So we decided to do this film, which has tons of action, and we also decided no dialogue in this film, so we could send it all over the world, which was a part of the last film when we sent it out to festivals. We had to do a lot of translating for all over the Europe and Asia and like all over the world, and now we're just gonna have a film that we can send out, and anyone's gonna be able to view it and understand it, and hopefully enjoy it very much.
That's really cool. And so, when did you begin this project?
4 years ago, man. We started 4 years ago, and I got a really cool story for you guys.
Sure.
Gerald was a really big success for us, which was awesome because it was our very first film, and we sent it all over the world. It did really well, and one of the things that happened was it went onto the seatback seats in Delta Airlines as part of Tribeca Film Festivals. So they screened it to anyone flying on Delta for like 3 or 4 months, and basically people were contacting us constantly that saw the film on Delta and were like, "Oh, we want to buy your film. We love it. It made me cry." Like all these really amazing people reaching out to us and saying how much they enjoyed it. And one of the people that called and asked to buy it was an astronaut, or a cosmonaut, I should say, on his way back from Russia, and he wanted to buy it for his family and friends. But we were in the festivals, and we said, "Hey, we can't really sell it right now, but we're so honored, that you really enjoyed it, and we'll take your information and we'll send you some copies as soon as we get done with the festival circuit." And also, I said, because we were starting our new film, I'm like, I found out that he was an astronaut basically from his email. It said it's spacemissions.com or something like that. And I looked it up, and I'm like, "Oh my God, you like dogs and you like, space?" I'm like, "Our next film was about Dogonauts, and you got to know about this, right?" So we sent it to him, and I said, "We're actually looking for investors right now, and maybe you'd be interested." So he says, I didn't know anything about the guy still. It was all online, and he's like, to send me a deal structure, right? So me and Shelly don't even know what a deal structure is really. But we called up some of our animation business friends who've been doing it for a long time. They told us what a deal structure was, and basically the next morning, we delivered a deal structure to him with a budget, the animatic of the film, the concept art. Like we had done a lot of pre-production on it, and he said he's in. He wants to do it, and we're like, "Oh my God, wow! We're gonna get financing for our second film, right? So we don't have to do it totally out of our garage, which it still is done in our garage, but like on a cheap budget, like we did Gerald." And so we got a contract written, and he sent us the first half payment, and was like, "Hey, here you go, get started. I'm really excited to see the progress of this film." And we were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe this happened." And so we basically started the film, went through the whole process, and as you see right there, that image you have up, that was me taking the last frame of the film. And now we're done. And we contacted our investor and we're like, "Hey, we're done." He's like, "Oh, we're so excited. I can't wait to see it." And then he said he wanted to come to the scoring session. We were so excited. We said, "Okay, well, we're ready for the second payment so that we can get the music and post-production, the 3D print." The film was shot in 3D too.
Wow.
Um, and then basically he cut us off. He totally bailed, never called back, and dumped us. It's the weirdest thing in the world.
Oh.
But he broke the contract. So we, now own the film outright. We don't owe him anything. Um, it's a real bummer because I was really excited about him being a part of the finish line and seeing what we had created after all this hard work. But he basically just blew us off and we're moving on. So that is where the Kickstarter comes in. And yeah, we could take him to court, but me and Shelly are not like that. You know what? We're super, super handshake people. And the reason we even did a contract was just because we wanted him to feel safe. Because we take this super, super seriously. Like, hey, we wanted to make every penny he gave us back. And that was our mission. Guaranteed we were going to do it.
Yeah, I think
So,
that's the best way to be too, because I mean, it's he gave, it's like you're kind of sharing
yeah.
in an opportunity.
Dude, he had the faith in us to give us anything, a penny to work on our film. We take that so so super seriously. We were like, we're gonna make this a success. Gerald was a success. We made a profit on Gerald, and we're gonna make sure no matter what, we're gonna make a profit on this film too, so he gets every penny of his money back.
Sure, sure.
So, but regardless, it all that bailed, and we're fine. We're like, okay, now what? So we have to get the music funds and the post production funds. And that's why we're running our Kickstarter campaign next Tuesday.
Ron Cole is saying maybe he's on the International Space Station.
Yeah, dude, I looked him up just in case because it didn't make any sense to me. I'm like, wow, he was so pumped about the finish, and then he just bailed that as soon as we, said that we needed the second payment. I don't know.
Yeah, that's sad. Well, I mean, in a way, it's good.
Yeah, you know what, man? Here's another thing. Me and Shelly are super super lucky people. So like we are. When something like this happens, it seems bad, but every single time, man, it's led to something way better, way cooler. So we're looking at this as 100% a new cool leaf that's opening up to get our film out there and share it with the world. And the Kickstarter situation is cool because most people that are going to Kickstarter are just starting their films,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a finished film, a finished 3D film, and it's pretty good, and that's really special. And we have all these amazing props and gifts and sculptures and maquettes and drawings and all these great rewards that we can give away that I'm hoping people kind of get excited about.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so now when are you going to actually announce your campaign and where?
Next Tuesday morning, I think we're going live Tuesday morning next week. I
Okay.
believe it might be the 30th, if I'm correct.
All right. And where can people find out about it?
Well, of course, I'm going to be posting here with you. I'll be posting on my blog. I'll be posting stopmotionanimation.com, anywhere that I can. And, luckily, I know a lot of really great 2D animation artists and just 2D people that are hopefully going to, spread the word in those communities as well. And I've got some people that are really, championing our project as best they can. So, like yourself, like this right now is super helpful. Any of these people that find out about it, hopefully they'll spread the word, and that would be amazing.
Sure. Well, I'm sure Facebook will be another. Are you going to have a like a
Yes.
Facebook fan page as well?
Well, we haven't thought about that, but I'm sure on my Facebook and Shell's Facebook, we definitely will. But it makes a lot of sense. It doesn't take that much time to do. We could certainly set up a Facebook page too.
Sure. Well, that's really exciting.
Yeah,
And so, what else can you tell us? Like, what was it like? I mean, for your family, because we talked a little bit earlier
yeah,
that you worked for Leica for 10 months, was it?
yeah, yeah. I worked on Paranorman for 10 months. Basically, on Paranorman, which was the most amazing thing I've ever done artistically, and I learned tremendous amounts from those guys, and I was just so honored to be in the building constantly with the amount of talent over there. It was a dream come true, man. It was a total dream come true. My wife, of course, and basically not even let me. We basically discussed it, and she's like, you know what, Justin, you have to take this. I got an offer from them, and she's like, you have to go. Uh, because I left in Los Angeles, our home's in Los Angeles. Like, you have to go. You have to work on this film, make your dream come true. And she supported me through it. And I came down. I flew down every 2 or 3 weeks, and she came up for the summer with my daughter. But it was incredible. I got to focus 100% on just being an animator on a miniature stop motion animated film at the coolest, most amazing studio, in my opinion, out there.
Yeah,
So
definitely. That's amazing. So,
yeah,
what did you have a daughter as well?
yeah. I have two boys, two older boys, and a young daughter. She's 10, and then my wife, and we do it all together here. My wife has a full-time job. She works out of the house as a trauma therapist, and then I work as an animator during the day at video games or TV or movies, anything that the jobs are out there. CG animation, but I also do stop motion, and then we do the evenings are in the garage on stop motion making films.
That's great. So it's like really a family kind of thing to do for you guys, is just to
Yeah,
get
and
creative.
back when we were making Gerald, it was super family because the boys were still young enough, just kind of entering the teenage years. So everybody was involved. My oldest boy is a really strong artist, and my middle son is a really good idea man, and my daughter was, so young back then, but every one of us contributed artistically to the films. And for this film, because my boys were much older, they were less involved because they were doing their own things,
Uh-huh.
being older teenagers. But my daughter and wife, my wife's 100% my partner, so she made all the sets, she made all the ships, she did the fabrication of the puppets. We wrote it together. She edited the whole film. I basically did all the animation, the sculpting, and the design stuff, and all the storyboarding. So it was like 50-50. This is like something we do together now.
Wow.
100%. Yeah.
So have you ever considered maybe creating an actual studio with, where you hire people and stuff, or?
Oh, man, absolutely. I mean, long time dream is to basically do a feature film that we both write, right?
Yeah.
So we have been working towards that, putting it out into the universe with each film we make. And our next film, that we've been writing is feature length. So that's the goal, is to make it happen.
Wow, that would be cool. I mean, you guys I mean your background, I remember, is also in 2D animation.
Yeah, like I went to school for 2D, art basically. Me and my brother went to Art Institute of Pittsburgh, where we both got into practical effects, where we wanted to make monsters for movie like Ron did, and make masks and animatronics and all kind of classic monster movie stuff. And Art Institute had one of the few schools that offered that kind of a program. And what happened is, right when we both joined, it was around the same time. I think it was like '93 when Nightmare Before Christmas came out, which was amazing. And then shortly thereafter, Jurassic Park came out.
Yep.
And Jurassic Park, when I saw Jurassic Park, I was blown away so much by how the movement of the dinosaurs was,
Uh-huh.
that I literally had to go change my major because I was like, you know what, I want to do effects and monster stuff, and I think that's where the future is. And my brother actually stayed in practical effects while I went to the CG route,
Uh-huh.
but a large portion of our education was 2D. I think we didn't even get on the computer till like the last 2 quarters of the schooling, but you know, I learned enough to get a job and have a career in CG.
So how did that experience? I mean, how did that affect your films like Dogonauts and Gerald's Last Day? Because I remember in Gerald's Last Day you had actually it seemed like you sketched out
Oh yeah,
all the poses in
yeah.
2D, and it came across with your puppets almost like they were two-dimensional. You know, the animation just came across that way, like it really. So, I mean,
That's so cool, man.
what is your philosophy on that?
Well, here it is, man. Like even in CG, I do sketching of my poses. It's kind of just something I think that comes from being a 2D animator in school. Like anytime I've animated, one of the really cool parts of stop motion is the improvisation elements that happen when during an animation.
Uh-huh.
But whenever I go in with a really good plan, it always ends up better, even though it changes. You know what I mean? And it always deforms. You it just make I'm way more efficient in getting across what I want to do when I sketch it out first. It's almost like a little roadmap, you know.
Yeah, of course.
So it's just been really helpful in really thinking about a shot before I jump in,
Mm-hmm.
and even in on the simplest levels, you know, sketching out like lines of action or basic postures, anything I can. But here's the one thing that was really challenging too is like when I first decided to try stop motion with Gerald, puppets couldn't do a lot of the poses that I were drawing, right? Because they can't bend physically, or they
Uh-huh.
can't move, and you know they can't balance. They can't do these really amazing things that your pencil can. So learning that kind of limitation and then still being able to communicate, hopefully, you know, whatever I am trying to the audience that was a big learning curve, but at the same time it was super magical, you know what I mean? I loved it.
Yeah. Well, like it turned out awesome. I mean, just
Yeah.
like in this pose that I have here of Gerald, um, you know, I remember seeing some of the sketches you did, and some of your early tests were, didn't you make your puppet out of clay, all clay at first?
Oh yeah, man, when I first started, you know what, like I said, I didn't know anything about stop motion except you move a little bit at a time, so I started totally with just a clay body and head, and the body would never hold the shapes that I wanted. It would melt and get so beat up. It was too heavy, so I couldn't support it doing kind of movements I wanted to do. And then basically that's when, you know, I said, okay, you know, what else can I do here? And I found uh, foam latex puppet making DVD from Kathy Zung. I believe it was on your site. I even found it.
Yep.
And I ordered it, and me and Shelly sat down on the couch and we said, all right, we'll give it a try. And we decided just to stick with clay for the facial stuff and then go with foam for the bodies. That way we could keep the integrity of all of our designs.
I see. That's great. And so, did you have wire armatures inside, or were they?
Yeah, yeah,
It
they
was.
were wire. Yeah, we still use wire even on this film. We did get a real armature made, but honestly, it needs so much maintenance that wire has been uh, way more effective, honestly, and longer lasting.
I see. That makes sense. Does anybody have any questions for Justin at all about any of his projects? Looks like Ron is asking, w- were those shots that you did with the guy fishing ages ago just test animations?
Yeah, you know, Ron, what I used to do is every time I would get a new character out of the oven, a new puppet, one of the designs I did, you know, you don't know how they move yet. So I would do one fun test animation with every new puppet that came out just to basically get a handle on how they move and what their limitations are physically. And yeah, so that was one of the tests I did with one of the puppets on Gerald.
Very cool. Let's see. So Dave is mentioning Squash and Stretch is out in puppet animation, but the pose exaggeration is available.
Definitely, definitely. And even squash and stretch, you can fake it. You know what I mean? By just, especially if you have a puppet that has wire in it, a lot of times you can just beat on it and squish it, and you can kind of falsify that feeling of squash and stretch. I found, at least working with wire, I'm able to pull it off sometimes.
That's cool.
But exaggeration, absolutely, absolutely. I shoot on I shoot on a Canon 50D, just a still cam with the blue screen we just got at a film store out here. It's this really really great blue screen material, and we just have some like lights you get at Home Depot that are kind of surrounding the set that kind of brighten it and make it light enough.
Cool. There's the link.
Uh,
It's another
right.
picture.
Yeah, the Fishman. He was 50D. It's the 50D. Yeah, the Canon 50D.
Oh, what software are you using? Is it Dragon?
Dragon Frame. Yeah, I'm using Dragon Frame. I on the first film Gerald, I did it all with Monkey Jam, which again I think I found on your site,
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
and it was really interesting because I just used a black and white spy cam, kind of looking through it, and I would check every 30 frames or so to see how it was flowing.
Uh-huh.
Dragon's so cool because it's just like you hit play constantly, right? And you get that feedback, but Gerald was done so differently. Let's see. Our next film. Well, right now we're calling it Wolf Girl, but that of course will change over the production. But it's a beautiful puppet. I'll be sharing it on my blog as it comes alive. And this is going to be the first time too that I use a rapid prototype for one of our projects.
Wow, that's neat. So is that going to be something you made in ZBrush?
Well, I just modeled it in Maya.
Oh, okay.
But and then we printed it out, and it looks like it's worked. We got a split down the eye and the mouth for two separate sections. I have a wig that I made, so I'm able to switch hair because she has a lot of hair.
Uh-huh.
And I'm basically using everything that I learned while being on Paranorman and applying it to my next puppet, or our next puppet.
I see. So, how many? I mean, I guess you worked on Gerald's Last Day and Dogonauts. Did you complete Dogonauts before you worked at Leica, or was it like you stopped halfway?
No, dude, I was working on Dogonauts while I was at Leica.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like that 10 months, basically, if I went home the weekends,
Uh-huh.
I was doing post-production. I was doing compositing, wire removal. Even when I would fly back for the weekends, when the kids went to bed and Shell went to bed, I'd try to pop out a shot, once every 3 weeks to keep it moving.
Oh, wow.
I was not gonna let it go flat at all. And too, I wanted, for the investor, I wanted to make sure we got the film out to him as soon as possible.
Sure, sure, of course. So, what would you say, like, what was like, when you made these films, what can you say that was, like, the biggest, uh, what's the word I'm trying to find here? Like, what did you learn? What was the biggest learning experience for you?
On our personal films, our garage films,
Yeah, like working for yourself.
man, oh god, problem solving, man. Anyone, all you guys that work in stop motion, it's constant problem solving. Like a puppet rips, an armature breaks, a wire pokes out, a finger breaks, a puppet falls down, the light bulb goes out, you kick the camera, the cat knocks something over. It's constant trying to figure out how you're going to do something. And, every time that I think I have a handle and I'm like, yeah, man, I have a pretty good understanding of how to do this shot. It's completely new. And, that puzzling aspect, it can drive you nuts and it can totally thrill you too at the same time, because it's really rewarding to solve those problems.
Sure.
And like when I go work at a pro studio too, sometimes it's so interesting because I'll be like, I've done every kind of wire removal support system you can do. And then I'll find some totally new thing that I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never done this, or a new camera move, or a new uh, just problem, man. I think the biggest thing I've learned is problem solving, constant problem solving. And we definitely improved quite a bit in our cinematography on this film.
Hmm.
We 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 really grew in just our quality of product. I think, like our imagery, our Shell, made those amazing ships and sets. Like our sets were really primitive on Gerald. Uh, compositing. I've never composited like I've composited on this film. Like every shot is basically a comp. So that was a huge growth spurt for us.
That's right, because you had a big green screen behind your entire set there.
Yeah, it's surrounded, man. 360 degrees, and our entire garage is blue screen, and
Wow.
uh, and it works awesome. It works awesome.
So, did you ever get like really frustrated at any point where you're just like, you want to just give it up, or you ever have
No,
thoughts like
never,
that?
never. You know the No, man. I have that part of me is non-existent. I think the quit aspect. Like I definitely love doing this, and I also, for me, half the reward is that finish line, man. When I get that finished product and I can share it and go to a film festival and watch it with people and be like, wow, look what we did. Me and my wife made this film, and it's too exciting of a thing to do
Hmm.
for me to ever think quit. And I love telling stories, man. That's a huge reward, telling a full story.
Absolutely. Wow. So, like, what advice would you give for somebody who's maybe just starting out like you were when you, before Gerald's Last Day, when you were kind of in that learning curve?
Yeah,
What would you kind of tell somebody
man.
who's brand
Okay,
new?
let me think. Uh, well, I would say start with just one character, man. I think that was the biggest thing that I could tell, like a young animator or something like that. Like if you have a film or a story that's really big, your chances of finishing are really small. So if you're starting with one character and some simple ideas, you won't get frustrated by the length, the marathon type experience of making a film like that. The amount of problems are going to be way less to solve. Um, and it's fun. I think it's fun just to concentrate on a simple idea than these huge grand visions that sometimes we get that just never go anywhere because they're too overwhelming. And
So baby steps, basically.
yeah, I guess so. Start with one character, do some animation tests. What I tell everyone, like we've actually had interns on this film.
Yeah.
For the guy that was asking if we're looking for help, yeah,
Yeah.
we will be looking for help on the next one as it gets going. But the huge thing I tell every animator is I'm like, learn the fundamentals of animation. And so many of the kids that I've had as interns, they don't know how to animate. They go to these schools and pay 60 freaking grand or more, and they come out of there and they don't know how to animate. Like
Ooh.
the fundamentals. Like pick up, like the Animator Survival Kit, the Illusion of Life. There's so much information online on how to be a good animator and how to learn, the basics of what makes a performance believable and life, how to inject life into a character. That's so much more important than some I don't know, career wise. I would say if you want to be an animator, number one thing you got to do is learn the fundamentals, and that you can
Sure.
do that with a piece of clay. Just a circle of a clay, a penny, you name it.
Yeah. Well, I can't believe that somebody that, I guess you've met people like that, which is kind of
I
scary.
do. I've met legions and legions of kids. I go around here and I do talks. Me and Shelly do talks at local schools about animation, and they show me their work, and I'm like, oh my gosh, these kids are getting totally ripped off.
Oh
There
man.
no, they cannot animate. And the thing is they have those huge, bills at the end of it, and they can't get a job. They can't get a job in CG animation. They can't get a job in stop motion animation. Can't get a job in 2D animation because they didn't learn the fundamentals.
So now, I mean, a lot of people ask about which colleges are good, which are bad, and so forth. And I know there's two trains of thought about that. Either you can, teach yourself something that you really love, which would be stop motion, learning
Yes.
squash and stretch and all on your own. Getting the books like you mentioned, Illusion of Life and everything.
Yeah.
Would you say it's in this day and age, is it better for people to teach themselves, or do you think college
No.
is still important?
I think it can be important, definitely, but I think the prices are outrageous, honestly. If you want to be a stop motion artist, I think college is the only reason you should go to college is if you need some kind of social growth or you want that experience or you have no other way to get in contact with stop motion, construction, building, people that know how to do it.
Sure.
Because out here in Los Angeles, for instance, there's like 4 or 5 studios right here. And if you show the gumption to put together a reel, to make some puppets on your own, to make a set, you can get in as an intern at some of these places. And you could actually learn about real production. You know what I mean? And see how it's actually done. Uh, just through, that passion of wanting to get in, I'm sure you can get in. Like, let's see, we had 3 interns.
Oh,
Every one of them is working professionally now at one of these major studios, and I think it's not because they went to USC. It's because they learned, real life stuff and had a portfolio that could get them in the door.
oh, I see. So just kind of having something that they could present.
Yes,
Uh, yeah.
relatable artwork. That's basically like, hey, I can build puppets. Hey, I can sculpt. Hey, I can do miniatures. Hey, look, I've done animation. Regardless of the quality, at least you're doing it. You might be able to get in as an intern, and then if you keep practicing, you keep showing that you're, passionate about it, and you're learning and growing. You're going to pick up so much more in real life, or in an online community than most of these basic schools. There are some schools that do have great teachers
Uh-huh.
and really talented kids, but I'd say the majority of them, man, are definitely, yeah, exactly, Ron. A good reel and a portfolio is everything.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean, I've told my son that, my oldest boy, and forever. It's like it's what you can do. It's not where you went, especially in our field, in any art field, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. Clayton Animation mentioned in a post here, too bad I went to a school that failed my stop motion. Um, and we had actually shown on our live show, I guess was it a senior project, Clayton? Um, and it was actually pretty good. It was a good film. And it was narrated nicely and everything, and sets were built. And the teacher failed the project. And everybody on our live show was like, how is that possible? you know,
Wow.
and really kind of like shocking because it was good.
Yeah,
And
that's weird.
and I just wonder, if sometimes schools can backfire as well, so it's kind of like
Well,
you're taking a
you know,
chance.
here's the thing, man. Like, stop motion people, as most of us who have worked in the field know, it doesn't pay very well. It's definitely one of the work comes and goes, right? So it's a really nomadic kind of lifestyle. That part is not cool. So like if you're graduating with, you know, gymongous loans, and then you're working at a job that you're just surviving in, you're never going to pay back your loans. You're just going to be in debt for the rest of your life. It's a pretty crappy situation. So
Yeah.
if you would want to learn, I would totally not. I would just do it through the communities, through trying to make these kind of social connections to people, like reaching out to me. You know what I mean? And reach. Half of our interns just came from our blog, and they're just like, "Hey, we would like to help out. Can we help out?" And we're like, "Sure. We never thought of that before. Yeah, come on over."
Right. Yeah. That's and so I speak method is saying $60 in debt or $60,000 in debt.
60K in gear. Oh my
Yeah.
God, can you believe that?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh gosh.
I mean, just for yeah, because if you think about like the camera equipment, the software, the computer. Well, I don't know
Yeah.
if even my studio. I don't think I spent $60,000 for all my stuff, but oh man.
You know, my oldest boy was considering going to art school or animation school, and you know, I told him, you know, I didn't think it was necessary because he's got the talent, and if he just keeps working on it, he can get in somewhere.
Yeah.
But at this, and I also said, you know, like he was talking about going to film school, you know, and learning about film, and I was like, what you need to do, Nikki, is just make movies. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like that. Say you said 60K in debt or 60K in gear. If you just took 10 grand and went out and made your movie, that would be so much more worth than going to school and getting 60 grand in debt just for the experience, the learning process, getting going, telling your story. Uh, you know, the things you get from schools are usually connections to people, and you know, if you really have been isolated in some way because the internet is so powerful now, I don't see that, but then it's a place where you can maybe go see stop motion that you never would have known how to go to otherwise, you know? Like the internet is such an amazing window now to so many people. I just don't think it's necessary. You can have your career doing what you love without that, you know, that ball and chain dragging behind you that might never go away.
Yeah, and I think Kickstarter is a real game changer. I
Yeah.
don't know about you, but I mean, it just seems like Phil Tippett and other
Yeah.
large people that are well known even are utilizing the internet for funding purposes and
It's incredible, man. It's
promotion.
incredible.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I
really
mean,
exciting.
the first thing when you know, we told our close friends, we're like, man, you know, the cosmonaut bailed on us for some reason. You know, the first thing they said was Kickstarter, Justin. You got to do Kickstarter. Like, you have a film. It's done. You know, like, go do Kickstarter. You have so much cool stuff. People are gonna, you know, blow up on it. And I'm still like, I don't know, but you know, I've seen it happen. It definitely going through there. It's pretty amazing how many projects have gotten funded. So I'm hopeful. You know what I mean? I'm really hopeful.
Yeah, right. Well, I tell you what, Justin, it's been a really nice long chat.
Yeah.
40 minutes already passed by, which is kind of astounding.
Wow.
Didn't feel that long, but so I do have some other projects. One of them is Paul's that we're going to talk about uh, his Kickstarter campaign, and so I guess we should probably part ways here. But it's been nice talking.
Okay.
And if you
Thank.
want to come back on again anytime, just let me know, and we'll talk again.
Yeah, you know, the only thing that I didn't get to talk to you guys about was really how amazing Paranorman was, and I would love to come back and just talk to you guys, dork out on that aspect. It was such an incredible thing. That
Yeah, that would be great. That would be really
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, and we're going live next Tuesday with the film, so I will make sure you guys all know about it.
Well, if you would like to come on next Wednesday, one day after, that would be good if you're
Yeah,
interested.
I'm in. We'll do it.
All right, that's awesome. Okay, Justin.
All right, guys.
Catch you later.
Later. Later.
Okay.
It's great talking to you guys. Thanks.
All right. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.
Bye.